If you're planning a trip to Japan and don't know when to visit, this video is going to be your ultimate guide. Because choosing the wrong month could easily cost you an extra 80,000 to 1.5 lakhs. And in some cases, it can completely change your experience. Imagine traveling all the way to Kyoto expecting beautiful autumn colors, only to find green trees, or visiting Mount Fuji and never seeing it because it's hidden behind the clouds, or paying double the hotel prices simply because you booked during one particular week. We have received a lot of questions on our Japan series asking about, is September a good time to visit? Is July too hot? When should I visit Japan on a budget? So in this video, we will explain Japan season by season, city by city, and tell you the best and worst months to visit every major tourist destination, how much each season costs, and by the end you will know exactly when you should book your trip. At the end of the video, I will reveal the one season I would recommend to almost every first-time visitor to Japan, and interestingly, it's not the cherry blossom season. So make sure to watch till the end. So let's get started. Japan stretches from snowy Hokkaido in the north all the way down to tropical Okinawa in the south. So people in Hokkaido are skiing, people in Okinawa are enjoying the beaches. That's why saying that best time to visit Japan doesn't really make sense. Major region of Japan are northern Japan, which is your Hokkaido, then comes central Japan, which covers Tokyo, Mount Fuji, Hakone, Kamakura. Then comes Japanese Alps, which has Takayama, Shirakawa-go and Matsumoto. Then the most popular region, Kansai, which covers Kyoto, Osaka, Nara, Kobe. Then you have Chugoku, which has Hiroshima and Miyajima. Now that you know Japan has different regions, let me answer the biggest question. So there are mainly 4 seasons in Japan. First is the spring season, which is from March to May. If you have ever seen pictures of Japan covered in pink cherry blossoms, this is the season you have been looking at. Spring is by far the most popular time to visit Japan, and for good reason. The weather is pleasant, the parks are filled with blooming sakura trees, and almost every city looks like it's straight out of a postcard. Temperatures usually ranges between 10 degrees to 22 degrees Celsius, making it perfect for walking around all day without feeling too hot or too cold. Tokyo's parks are all covered in cherry blossom. Kyoto's temples look even more magical with pink trees surrounding them. Nara becomes incredibly beautiful with blooming gardens and friendly deer roaming around. Even Mount Fuji starts becoming easier to access as winter slowly ends. But before you get too excited, there is something you should know. Spring is also the most expensive season to visit Japan. Flights fill up months in advance and hotels sell out very quickly. And prices can easily be 30 to 60% higher than other times of the year. For example, a hotel room that usually costs between 8,000 to 10,000 rupees per night can easily jump to 15,000 or even 20,000 during the peak cherry blossom season. Round-trip flights from India that usually cost about 60 to 70,000 rupees can go higher as up to 1 lakh rupees. And there is another week you should be aware of. It's called Golden Week, which usually falls between end of April to early May. This is one of Japan's biggest holiday periods. Millions of Japanese people travel during this week, which means attractions become more crowded, hotels become expensive, and trains can get fully booked. So, unless your travel dates are fixed, I would personally avoid this week. Spring is absolutely breathtaking, but it comes with a premium price tag. So if your budget is flexible and seeing cherry blossom is on your bucket list, then spring is worth every penny. But if you are looking for a similar experience with fewer crowds and lower prices, wait till we get to autumn. You might actually like it even more. Next is your summer season, which is from June to August. Whenever people hear Japan in summer, they immediately think it's too hot and humid and don't go. But the reality is little more interesting than that. June marks the beginning of Japan's rainy season, and despite what people think, it doesn't rain all day. You'll often get cloudy mornings, a few hours of rain, and clear skies again. In fact, if you are traveling on a budget, June can actually be a great month because hotel prices are lower and tourist attractions are much less crowded. Then comes July. The rain starts clearing up and Japan comes alive with some of country's biggest festivals. You'll see colorful firework displays, traditional summer festivals, people dressed in yukatas and lively street food markets. July is also when the official climbing season for Mount Fuji begins. And if Hokkaido is on your itinerary, summer is one of the best times to visit because temperature remains comfortable, usually ranging between 20 to 26 degrees, while lavender fields bloom across the Furonos. But August is different story. This is the hottest month of the year. Cities like Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka often experience temperature above 35 degrees combined with high humidity. Walking around temple or exploring city in the afternoon can be little exhausting. August also includes the Obon holiday, another major travel period in Japan. Hotels become more expensive, transport gets crowded, and popular attractions can be packed during that period. So, would you actually visit Japan in summer? If you love festivals, want to climb Mount Fuji, or you're planning to spend most of your time in Hokkaido, summers can be fantastic. But if you are mainly interested in sightseeing around Tokyo, Kyoto, there are definitely better seasons. Budget-wise, summer is usually one of the cheaper time to visit Japan, except during the Obon holidays. Next comes the autumn season, which is September to November. If you are visiting Japan for the very first time, I would probably recommend you autumn, and by the end of this section, you will understand why. Autumn is when Japan starts cooling down after the hot and humid summers. The weather becomes incredibly comfortable, humidity drops, and entire country slowly transforms into shades of red, orange, and golden yellow. Unlike spring, where you are chasing cherry blossoms for just a couple of weeks, autumn colors last much longer and move gradually from north to south. That gives you much bigger window to plan your trip. But here's something important to know. September is bit of mixed season. It's still warm in many parts of Japan, and it's also peak of the typhoon season, especially in southern regions like Okinawa and Kyushu. Now that doesn't mean that typhoon is going to ruin your trip. Japan has excellent infrastructure and most typhoons pass within a day or two. But they can cause flight delays, train disruptions, and occasionally force attractions to close temporarily. So if you are traveling in September, it's always a good idea to keep your itinerary slightly flexible. By the time October arrives, humidity disappears, the skies become crystal clear, temperature usually stays between 15 to 24 degrees, and sightseeing becomes incredibly comfortable. You can easily spend an entire day exploring without constantly looking for shade or air conditioning. Then comes November, which in my opinion is one of the most beautiful months to visit Japan. This is when the famous autumn foliage reaches its peak in many parts of the country. Temples in Kyoto become surrounded by brilliant shades of crimson and gold. The gardens in Tokyo look stunning. Mountain roads around Nikko, Hakone, and Japanese Alps become absolutely breathtaking. Even places you have already seen in photos somehow look even more beautiful in real life. Another huge advantage of autumn is Mount Fuji visibility. One of the biggest disappointments for travelers is reaching Lake Kawaguchiko or Churyoto Pagoda and finding Mount Fuji completely hidden behind clouds. During autumn, especially from late October onwards, the skies are much clearer, giving you a higher chance of seeing Mount Fuji in all its glory. And if photography is one of the main reasons you are visiting Japan, autumn is incredibly rewarding. It's honestly difficult to take a bad picture during this season. Now let's talk about the budget. Autumn is generally less expensive than the cherry blossom season, but it is definitely not cheap. Flights from India usually range between 55,000 to 65,000 depending upon when you book. A good range hotel in Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka typically costs around 10,000 to 16,000 per night. And if you are planning to stay in a traditional ryokan with an onsen, expect to spend anywhere between 20,000 to 40,000 per night, especially during the peak autumn foliage period. So while autumn isn't the cheapest season, I genuinely think it offers the best balance between weather, scenery and value for money. Now let's talk about the most underrated season in Japan, which is the winter season, and this is from December to February. Winter in Japan isn't just about snow. It's about experiencing an entirely different side of this country. In cities like Tokyo, Osaka and Kyoto, winter is actually very manageable. Daytime temperature usually ranges between 5 degree to 12 degree, and unlike many other countries, the weather is surprisingly dry and sunny. In fact, winter often has some of the clearest skies of the entire year. This is one of the best times to see Mount Fuji. And if snow is on your bucket list, Hokkaido is the place to be during this time. You will find world-famous ski resorts, powder snow that's considered some of the best in the world, frozen lakes, snow-covered forests, and beautiful winter festivals. Even if you don't ski, simply walking through the snow-covered towns feels like stepping into a real-life postcard. Another destination you absolutely shouldn't miss in winter is Shirakawa-go. The traditional thatched roof houses covered in thick layers of snow looks like something straight out of a fairy tale. And if you're traveling in early February, you can even witness the famous evening illuminations when the entire village lights up against the snowy landscape. Kyoto often becomes incredibly peaceful during the winter. Many temples that are packed during spring and autumn suddenly become quiet. Imagine walking through Fushimi Inari or the Arashiyama bamboo grove with a fraction of usual crowds. It feels like you have these places almost to yourself. Now let's talk about the budget, because this is where winter becomes really attractive. If you are traveling after New Year holidays and avoiding the Sapporo Snow Festival, winter is one of the cheapest seasons to visit Japan. You can get round-trip flights from India in about 40,000 to 50,000 rupees, and mid-range hotels in cities like Tokyo, Osaka generally cost between 7,000 to 10,000 per night. So if your priority is saving money without compromising too much on the experience, winter offers incredible value. Only exception is destination like Niseko or Sapporo during peak ski season and snow festival, where accommodation prices can increase dramatically. Now that we have covered all 4 seasons, let's make this even simpler. Maybe you are not traveling across the entire country. Maybe Tokyo and Mount Fuji are your priority, or perhaps you always dreamed of Kyoto during the autumn. So let's go through Japan's most popular destinations one by one. Let's start with Tokyo. Tokyo is one of those cities that you can visit throughout the year, but some months are definitely better than the others. I would recommend visiting Tokyo between March and April if you want to experience cherry blossoms. The weather is pleasant, parks are filled with sakura, and entire city feels alive. If cherry blossom aren't your priority, then October and November are equally amazing. The temperatures are comfortable, humidity is low, and you will enjoy beautiful autumn colors in parks like Shinjuku-gyon and Rikogin. May and early December are the shoulder months. May still offers pleasant weather after cherry blossom crowds leave, while early December brings beautiful winter illuminations before the holiday rush begins. Hotels are usually little cheaper compared to the peak season, and you will spend less time waiting in the queues. July and August are the worst months to visit Tokyo. Tokyo becomes extremely hot and humid. Walking around places like Asakusa, Shibuya or Ueno during the afternoon can be exhausting. June is also part of the rainy season, so while it's not complete deal breaker, but it's not my recommendation for first time travelers. Now let's talk about Kyoto. If there's one city where timing makes the biggest difference, it's definitely Kyoto. Every season completely changes city atmosphere. Best time to visit Kyoto is March to early April for cherry blossoms, and late October to late November for autumn foliage. Whether it is Kiyomizu-dera or Ikando Temple or Arishiyama, autumn in Kyoto is simply breathtaking. Shoulder months are May and early December. You will still enjoy pleasant weather, but with fewer crowds and slightly lower hotel prices. If you don't mind missing peak colors, these months offer a much more relaxed experience. Worst months are June and August. Kyoto is surrounded by mountains, which means humidity gets trapped inside the city. Even locals describe Kyoto summers as uncomfortable. You will still enjoy the attractions, but walking from one temple to another in the afternoon heat can be tiring. Also avoid the Golden Week period if possible because Kyoto becomes extremely crowded during this phase. Now let's talk about Osaka. Osaka has climate very similar to Kyoto. The biggest difference is that Osaka is a modern city. So you will spend more time indoors exploring shopping district, restaurants and entertainment areas. Best time to visit here is March to April and October to November. These months offer the most comfortable weather for exploring Dotonbori, Osaka Castle, Shinsekai and Universal Studio Japan. Shoulder months here are May and early December. The weather remains enjoyable, accommodation is often slightly cheaper and tourist crowds are more manageable. The worst months are July and August because of the intense heat and humidity. If you are visiting Universal Studio during these months, be prepared for long queues under the sun. Mount Fuji and Lake Kawaguchiko. Now let's talk about one of the biggest disappointments tourists face: traveling all the way to Mount Fuji and not seeing it. The mountain spends a surprising number of days behind the clouds, so timing matters a lot. Best time to visit is from November to February. These months offer the clearest skies, making it much easier to see Mount Fuji in all its glory. The snow-covered peak also looks absolutely stunning during winter. Shoulder months are March and October. Visibility is still quite good, temperatures are pleasant, and you will avoid some of the peak season crowds. Worst months are June to September. Because of humidity, clouds cover, and frequent rainfalls, there's a much higher chance that Mount Fuji will remain hidden. You might still get lucky, but the odds are definitely lower. Hakone is famous for hot springs, ropeways, and Mount Fuji views. It's beautiful almost all around the year. Best time to visit here is between spring and autumn. The weather is comfortable, you get beautiful sceneries and excellent visibility. The shoulder months are the winter months. Many people skip Hakone because they think it will be too cold, but honestly, soaking in a hot natural spring while surrounded by cool mountain air is an unforgettable experience. Worst month is June. The rainy season can affect mountain views and outdoor activities, although Hakone is still enjoyable if you are mainly visiting for the onsens. Nara is one of the easiest destinations to plan because it's beautiful almost year around. Best time to visit is March to April and October to November. Comfortable temperature make it much easier to explore Nara Park and the temples while interacting with the famous stair. Shoulder months are May and December. Pleasant weather with fewer tourists. The worst months are late July to August. The heat makes walking through the Nara Park much less enjoyable, especially during the afternoons. Hiroshima and Miyajima. These two destinations are often visited together. Best time to visit is March to May and October to November. The weather is comfortable, making it ideal for exploring the Peace Memorial Park and visiting the floating Torii Gate at Miyajima. Shoulder month is December, when you get cool weather, fewer crowds and generally lower accommodation prices. Worst months are June and September. June brings frequent rainfall while September can occasionally experience typhoon affecting the ferry operation. Takayama and Shirakawa-go. If you are looking for traditional Japan, this region is hard to beat. Best time to visit is October and November for colorful autumn landscape, and December to February if you want to experience snow-covered villages that looks like a fairy tale. Shoulder months are April and May. The snow has melted, temperatures are pleasant and tourist numbers remains relatively lower. Worst months are late June to October. Rain can reduce visibility and the region loses much of the charm people associate it with. Hokkaido is completely different from rest of the Japan. While Tokyo is sweating in August, people in Hokkaido are comfortably enjoying flower fields. Best time to visit is July and August for lavender fields and mild summer weather, January and February for skiing, snow festivals and landscapes. Shoulder months are May and September. You get pleasant temperatures with fewer crowds. There isn't really a bad time to visit Hokkaido. Instead, choose based on what you want. If you are not interested in snow sports, then the middle of the winter might not be worth the extra effort. Finally, Japan's tropical paradise. Most people are surprised to learn that Okinawa has a complete different climate from the rest of Japan. Best time to visit is April to June and October. These months offer warm weather, calm seas and ideal conditions for beaches, snorkeling and diving. Shoulder months are March and November. The weather is still pleasant, crowds are smaller and you will often find better hotel deals. The worst months are August and September. This is the peak typhoon season and storms can disrupt the flights, ferry services and water activities. If Okinawa is the main reason for your trip, I would avoid these months altogether. So now you know best time to visit every major destination in Japan. But here's the thing. Most people don't actually choose where they can go first. They choose when they can take leave from work. So what if your travel month is already decided? Is Japan still worth visiting? Let's answer that next by breaking down Japan month by month. So no matter when you are traveling, you will know exactly what to expect. Let's start with January. In cities like Tokyo, Kyoto and Osaka, you will experience crisp winter days with temperature ranging between 5 to 10 degrees. It is cold but not unbearably cold if you are dressed properly. The skies are often incredibly clear, making January one of the best months to see Mount Fuji. If you are heading north to Hokkaido, this is when winter is in full swing. Snowy villages like Shirakawa-go look straight out of fairy tale. Snow lovers will probably enjoy this month even more because it's home to one of Japan's most famous winter events, the Sapporo Snow Festival. Massive snow sculptures, illuminated ice carvings, and winter celebrations attract visitors from around the world. If you're not visiting Hokkaido, cities like Tokyo, Kyoto remain relatively quiet compared to the spring season. And once again, Mount Fuji visibility is fantastic. The weather becomes much more comfortable, flowers begin blooming and excitement builds across the country because everyone is waiting for one thing, cherry blossom season. Early March is relatively quiet, but the end of the month, sakura starts blooming in the cities like Tokyo, Kyoto and Osaka. This is peak cherry blossom season across many parts of the country. Parks become filled with people enjoying hanami picnics, riversides turn pinks and temples surrounded by sakura create some of the most beautiful scenery. The weather is almost perfect for sightseeing with temperatures ranging between 15 to 22 degrees. If seeing cherry blossom is your dream, then yes, April is worth visiting. Many people overlook May. Cherry blossom crowds have disappeared, the weather remains fantastic and the parks are still lush and green. This is Golden Week holiday and is one of the busiest travel periods in Japan. In June, you can experience cloudy skies, occasional showers and humid afternoons, but also much fewer tourists. Hydrangeas also bloom during this time, creating beautiful landscapes at temple and gardens across Japan. If you are traveling on a budget and don't mind carrying an umbrella, June is actually a surprisingly good choice. In July, rainy season gradually ends, temperature starts rising and festival season begins. You will find traditional summer festival, colorful fireworks and people wearing yukatas throughout the country. July is also official opening of Mount Fuji climbing season. If climbing Japan's highest mountain is on your bucket list, this is the time to go. August is the hottest month of the year. Temperature in major cities often exceeds 35 degrees and humidity makes sightseeing feel much more exhausting. If you are spending long days exploring temples, shrines and shopping districts, be prepared to take frequent breaks. Early September is still part of the typhoon season. Now that doesn't mean you'll definitely experience a typhoon, but there is a higher chance of heavy rain, transportation delays and flight disruptions. Toward the end of the month, temperature becomes much more comfortable and crowds begin to decrease. October is where Japan starts becoming magical again. The weather is cool, humidity disappears and sightseeing become incredibly comfortable. Although autumn colors haven't reached every region yet, northern Japan and mountain areas begin changing colors. October is also one of the best months for outdoor activities, road trips, and exploring places like Hakone, Nikko, and Japanese Alps. Autumn colors reach their peak across much of the country. Kyoto becomes breathtaking, Mount Fuji visibility is excellent, temperatures are comfortable, photography conditions are almost perfect. Early December offers beautiful winter illumination, festive decorations, and relatively smaller crowds. Cities like Tokyo and Osaka becomes beautifully lit for Christmas, creating a completely different atmosphere from the rest of the year. The weather is cold but generally dry, making sightseeing comfortable. So let me tell the one season I would recommend to almost every first time visitor to Japan. And surprisingly, it is not the cherry blossom season. If I had just one chance to visit Japan for the very first time, I would choose late October to mid-November. Now before all the Sakura fans come after me, let me explain why. First, the weather is almost perfect. Second, this is when Japan transforms into a sea of red, orange and golden autumn colors. Places like Kyoto, Nikko, Takayama and even Tokyo's garden become absolutely breathtaking. Third, your chances of seeing Mount Fuji are much higher than during the humid summer months. And finally, you get an amazing balance between experience and budget. So, there you have it. The best time to visit Japan really depends upon the kind of trip you're dreaming of. If you found this guide helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. You can also watch our Japan travel series and get a downloadable PDF for yourself which cover important links and everything that you need to know before planning your Japan trip. You will find the link in the description below. And if you're still confused about your travel dates, don't worry, just comment your planned months and we will personally suggest the best itinerary and places to visit during that time. Thank you so much for watching and as always, I will see you in my next video. Until then, happy wandering!